started. So, hi everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending from where you are. Thank you for joining Up Your Corporate Ladder session with me today. I prepared some content for the format of the session. I prepared some content. I wanted to share with you a bit about my personal journey in the tech space career. And at the end, I will be hosting an Ask Me Anything session where I'm opening the floor for questions regarding absolutely anything. So with this being stated, let's start the discussion. I've prepared a few slides, so don't worry, I'm not going to bore everybody with a lot of text, but just a few slides so that it can guide us throughout this presentation. First of all, a few words about me. So my journey in the past 10 years has been extremely accelerated. I've started from junior engineer back in 2013, and right now as being the director of engineering at Google. So in this 10 years time, it was a very accelerated journey with a lot of learnings and hardships. I had some of the learnings were the hard way from mistakes. Others were from mentors, great mentors that I got surrounded with, and opportunities. I went through 2 acquisitions. I held over 1,000 interviews while building teams and engineering organizations. And of course, like everyone or most people in tech that tried a startup previously, I'm also a previously failed startup founder. Had a startup early on when I was a junior engineer in parallel with my job, couldn't get it off the ground due to multiple reasons. But this is, let's say, in a nutshell, the things around my experience. And before we're jumping in, I just wanted to give this disclaimer. So the views presented in this presentation are my own and are not the views attributed to any of my present or past employers. That being said, let's jump in the interesting things. So the first part, hopefully everybody is hitting me. If not, may I get a question on the session? But hopefully everybody's hearing me. If not, please feel free, give me a shout out or a question in the M&A or a comment here, just to tell if there's any problem with the video or with the audio stream. But if not, let's go into sort of saying the interesting stuff. I will be talking about 5 learnings that I found them very valuable in my let's say career growth so far. And the first one was choosing the right opportunities. Usually we're thinking about the risk reward scale, something like this. You have the downside and the risk and the upside and the reward. And there's a question of what kind of opportunities should you choose? In my experience, opportunities vary. And you should look for opportunities that are asymmetrical. What I'm talking about, it's something similar to this, where the downside can be limited, but the upside, the reward, can go very, very high. My personal experience, I was a junior engineer. I started that startup on the side, couldn't manage to get it off the ground. Somehow, it kind of stuck with me, but I still wanted to explore the startup scene. At that point, an opportunity presented itself, and it was an opportunity to join a new startup as their first employee. But it came with some risks. The risk that I had at that point in time was that I was taking a pay cut, around 30-35%. And most likely with every startup, there's a high risk of it failing. So in 1 year or 1.5 years time, I would be out of a job. But I was early in my 20s. And in my personal, let's say, life situation back then, I could have taken the risk. So I jumped at it openly, even if I'm a pretty risk-averse person. Later on, it paid out. That small startup got acquired by Fitbit, and we were very privileged to start a big European engineering office under Fitbit. And later on that, Fitbit was acquired by Google. So it was a very successful story of landing with Google and continuing a very important wearable European office by Google. So again, try to look at opportunities that have a limited downside and a very high or unlimited reward. This way, you'll be surprised how you can be put on a faster path to accelerate your career. This is also tied with taking smart risks. So you can also have the reverse side of the scale, where you have a limited reward, but infinite downside. So be careful around those opportunities. Try to stay away from them. Try to find these kind of opportunities in your experience. Next one, compete where there is low competition. Why I mean by this? Usually everybody wants for things to be easy and high reward. I think you all know about get rich fast schemes or all sorts of, hey, do these 5 easy steps and then you'll be successful, or do X and Y and you'll be successful. Success is not that an easy process. It's different for every one of us, but it requires a lot of work. The quote of we have to take the stairs, there's no elevator for success, is a very, let's say, quote that I'm fond of. And what I mean by here is, in an organization, even a startup, people will shy away for doing hard things. So it's easy for you to compete in that landscape because most of the people will try to find not that hard work. They'll not ponder around how to innovate and bring, let's say, new technologies or discover new ways of doing things, change processes, so on and so forth. Or another thing that I've done also in my career is when there's a lot of competition on the specific projects, you can always make the pie bigger. You can always find a new idea or a new angle of how you can do things, pitch that idea to your stakeholders, and work on that idea by yourself or with a team that you assemble. How do you get ideas? How innovation happens? One easy trick that I can say to you is try to speak with people that are from different departments, that are not necessarily from your department. So try to interact. Let's say you're in engineering, go to speak with business people, marketing people, folks that are in product in different organizations. You'll be surprised and ask them what issues they are facing, what are the challenges that they're facing day by day. You'll be surprised, and they'll be surprised how easy it is for you to come with an engineering solution to a problem that they thought was impossible. And you can even try it internally in a hackathon. You can assemble a small team to get a POC, and then you can put it in front of stakeholders and executives, and you'll be surprised that you can get your project funded, and you'll also get a lot of recognition. So compete where there is low competition. Usually the hard things that you can, let's say, that are looking hard at first view, but that's where you can also show different skills. You can also interact with very high up stakeholders. You can have a lot of visibility by doing hard work, being innovative, making the pie bigger. Next one, and I think this is very crucial, it's around building trust. Why I say this is very important, even from the early, let's say, thousands of years ago, when somebody new was joining a tribe, the members of a tribe were thinking about two very important questions. Is that person, I would say, competent? AKA, in those days, can he hunt? Can he supply for the tribe? Can he participate in what the tribe is doing? And the second one is that person trustworthy? AKA back then, meaning by trustworthy is, will he not run with all our food when we're sleeping, or will he not kill us when we're sleeping. Nowadays, the same two things hold the same value and the same thing. Usually only, let's say, the things that evolve right now is that you're not thinking anymore about, is that person competent in, let's say, getting food. You're thinking about your job that you're doing, or the job that that person has to do. If he's a product manager, is he competent as a product manager? If he's an engineer, can he write code? Does he have the engineering skill set to prove? And the second one still holds. Is he trustworthy? Somebody that we can trust, that we give him a task, that he's a team player, that he can contribute to the overall goal and success of the team. Now, the simple trust formula that this can, how you can enable and establish trust is in 3 steps. Miss any of the steps, the formula doesn't work. Believe me, I tried, and I tried for the experience. I had a very great mentor tell me this once when I was failing to do one of the steps, and opened my eyes. The things that I was failing was the first step. But again, the trust formula is like this. 1, first of all, you say what you will do. Second, you do it. And third, you show that you have done it. If you're missing one of the steps, let's say you're missing the say, and you just do things and then you show them, people will just say, you were lucky, it happened, or they may not even pay attention. If you don't do it, you don't do it. And at that point, if you're missing the do step, you're getting negative points through the fact that you are not delivering on your promises. You're saying things and you don't have anything to show for. And on the show part, the part that I was lacking was the fact that if you're saying that you'll do something and you're doing it and you forget to show it, there's 2 things that could happen. 1, people will not pay attention. We are all getting our time spent all over. We're living such busy lives that we can ignore the fact that somebody that did that thing, or you're not getting any points. You're losing points at that instance, because the person that you said and then you've done, you don't follow up with them. So you may even lose points. Very important, very easy to do. Easy formula, hard to do, because you have to be consistent. And every time that you're saying that you're going to be doing something, you better deliver on it. But the formula for building trust or becoming trustworthy is simple. Do this a couple of times with a stakeholder, and you'll be deemed as trustworthy. Start missing some of the steps, and you'll start losing that trust gradually. So very important, something that will help throughout your career, because in the age of AI, competence will become easier and easier. You'll be able to ask a guru AI on all sorts of topics, but the AI will not be able to help you with your trustworthiness. And in everyday life, you want to do business with people that you're trusting. You want to have colleagues that you can trust with different aspects and tasks and things around this. So this is a very good skill set to have in the era of AI also, because AI will not help people become more trustworthy. People will have to do this work by themselves. Cool. Let's go forward. Reverse engineering. This is something that usually not a lot of people are doing it, right? Inside your companies where we're working right now, or the startups, most likely there is a ladder. Some companies that are very early on, like startups, have an official ladder, not something documented. Maybe it's a flat organization. Maybe it's not such a very rigorous process behind it. But nonetheless, there still exists a ladder. It may be in the heads of the founders. It may be in the heads of the folks owning specific departments, but there is such a ladder. In more established companies, bigger companies, there is specifically a ladder with specific positions. I just demonstrated here a technical ladder that comprises on the ICs, individual contributors, and engineering managers. Something that never happens, or in my experience so far, is people want to be promoted, want to advance, but they don't reverse engineer the promo process, and they don't really look and do an audit of themselves, how they are comparing against the ladder. For example, somebody that may be an engineer should think about, what do I need to get to do? What skills I need to learn? How much time do I have to demonstrate those skills to reach the point of a senior engineer? They can create a game plan with that. And after that, they can start talking with their manager. And I encourage everyone, have these discussions with your manager or your boss around how can you become more impactful? How can you up-level your skill set and grow your career? And you'll see that your manager is there to support you. At start, it may be a hard, difficult conversation, but it's a conversation that is essential for your development. There are different specifics here. For example, I'm going to be focusing and talking a bit now about the technical side of things. You'll see the individual contributor side of things being different from the engineering manager side, because those are two dual ladders. One, progressing from junior engineer to senior engineer to staff engineer and senior staff engineer is totally different than how you would get from manager to senior manager and director. At a certain point in time, I think it's valuable to also question the things that you have to unlearn. Specifically, my experience getting from the IC ladder to the engineering manager ladder, I had to unlearn the fact that I have to be the best engineer in the room, and I have to be the one jumping on engineering tasks. Why? Because as an engineering manager, your first duty or responsibility is to make your team successful, which means you have to grow your team. Jumping on the more critical things or the more hard things would steal those opportunities of development from your team. And your purpose as a manager is to support your team and your team growth. This is the first one. The second one is deliver the projects. And the third one, everything else will take care of themselves. So sometimes there are things that you have to unlearn or do these things different. It's good to question yourself from time to time. What are the things that you need to unlearn or do different for the next position that you are thinking about? Something also that has helped me doing this reverse engineering of the ladder was that I reached a certain point on the engineering management side as senior manager, and the leap towards director was a pretty big, important leap. And I had to literally get all of the projects that I had to do, the impact, the things, the skills, the exposure, the things that were required for the next level, and make a plan and try to think about it weekly. So actually, I reserved time in my calendar, half an hour at the end of the week, Friday, where I was looking at what are the current tasks that I'm doing, what are the current projects that I'm having, and what is required for the next level. What are additional opportunities that I can find, and how I can impact. And the most important thing is, it's not a solo journey. You have to get on board your manager. So my manager was a lot of help, helping me to identify the correct opportunities, mentoring me and guiding me, and also talking with various other stakeholders that may help you progress on your career. So very important here, try to do an audit of where you are and where you want to get. Try to see what are the things that are lacking. For it to be a realistic audit, invite your manager to give his feedback on the audit that you've got, and then talk about your growth plans, the things that you're doing, get feedback from the stakeholders that will be part of your promo process and promo rationale. The last one that I wanted to get into, and I think this is very important because I've also got impacted by it throughout my career, was trying to coach yourself. And what I'm meaning here by coaching yourself is sometimes we want specific things. I can give my example. I was a senior manager and I wanted to go to the next level to become a director. And I was kind of wanting to do it, but something was holding me back. And I quite didn't understand what was holding me back until I had a very honest conversation with somebody, and that somebody told me, okay, but if you want to promote to the next level, why don't start doing the work? And if you get it, you get it. If you don't get it, you have learned a lot, and most likely you'll get it the next cycle. And at that point, I discovered the fact that, hey, I was actually being under the fear of success and fear of failure. So I was under the part of fearing that I would try all of this and I would fail. And it was a very eye-opener for me. I started doing the work, was a successful outcome. I got the promotion. And it re-emphasized again my part of saying, hey, you have to play the game if you want to win. You have to try to do the work first. And even if you're not successful from the first take, you'll be successful from the second take or the third take. Depends a bit on the opportunities, depends a bit on the rate that you are responding to feedback. But again, it's something that you have to have an honest discussion with yourself of the things that are keeping you, are dragging you along and are keeping you from going after your goal. Why I'm saying coaching yourself, because sometimes it's important to ask yourself some of the questions. I'll be taking some very powerful questions that are available in the coaching part. For example, the question is, why is this important for you now? And you'll see that you have to go through a couple of whys to actually go to the underlying desire that you want. And it's very important because otherwise you may be wanting something, you may be getting that something, and you're not feel that you've achieved what you want. Because most of the time, that something was not something that you wanted to happen. Another important one from coaching is the flip. What do I mean by the flip? Usually we tend to think that in negative terms. Oh my God, this is happening and we're going to this and that's going to be, maybe I'm failing, and what will happen back then. And the flip is, try to flip it on the positive. What would you like to happen? And at that point, you'll talk about the positive and say, okay, I would like to get a promotion because X and Y. And then you can go with the next one and use it. Why is that important for you? I strongly advise for you to do this because at that point, it will help you have a better clarity of what you want so that you're not wasting half a year, 2 years, 10 years maybe in working at something that you actually don't like and don't want. And as promised, I want to first thank you all for joining and bearing with me in this time. And I want to open the floor for ask me anything questions, things that maybe you have, let's say, bumps on your journey through the career that you want. Any questions that you have, please write them in the session panel. You have on the right there for Q&A, and you have ask a question. If not, or until we're getting the question, I'm gonna give you another learning that's important, and it has helped me a lot. Seek great mentors. Seek people that you can learn things from. It may be your boss, it may be people in your organization, it may be people even outside work. Why is that important? Because some of the skills and some of the things, they're not only learnable by, let's say, talking, but also by being in a practice, by observing a person handling different situations, how they speak, how they interact, how they think. There's a pretty, let's say, deep part of how you can understand the nuances. For example, some of the things that I've learned and how to position myself, how to speak about things, how to speak differently with things from different parts of the organization, speaking about things that they care about, and how I can help them do that, I think that's pretty valuable. So anytime that you can do, seek great mentors. And usually great people can be very good mentors. The thing that you have to establish in that relationship, for that relationship, that mentorship relationship to work, don't forget, it's trust. If trust is not established, the mentorship experience will not work. So again, seek great mentors. And looks like there are no questions. I'm just gonna give you another tip. This has also helped me and served me and the organization that I've operated so far in. Try to make people successful, including your boss. So it's interesting how people are usually missing on this, because helping others being successful is the best way of how you can be successful. It's not only in, let's say, if you're a manager. It applies everywhere, even if you're not having direct reporting lines. What I mean by this is, if you're asking your boss, how can you help them be successful? And then you are also having a good relationship with various other stakeholders, you can paint a clear picture of the things that your boss or your organization require for you to deliver. It also ties in making the pie bigger, because maybe you're going to be identifying new opportunities for improvement, maybe that even your, let's say, direct management chain is not aware of, and then you can contribute on that. Maybe you're discovering new innovation, a new innovative way, or changing of a process, or fixing things. But at that point, you're also doing the trust building, because you're asking them how they can be successful. They're giving you something, you're saying, okay, I'm going to do it. Then you're going to be doing it, and then you're going to be show that you've delivered that, and it will be something of impact that your organization or your boss also required. So let's say this is the last tip that I have. It's a very powerful one, by the way. You can have those discussions even, let's say, tomorrow. Not tomorrow. Tomorrow is Sunday, but Monday, with the manager that you're reporting or other stakeholders that you're having. The question would be how you can help them to be successful. In the startup part is, what can I do so the startup can be successful? And then you can talk with founders, talk with other leaders in your organization. And you, believe me, you will have more ideas that you can tackle. Now, getting back to my presentation, try to choose the ones that have a good risk reward ratio, where looks like hi everyone, sorry that I've dropped a bit. Hopefully you can hear me now. Hey everyone. Hopefully you're still hearing me. I've been having some technical difficulties and challenges. In the end, I just wanted to thank everyone. Oh my God. Now I'm seeing the questions. The chat has froze. Let's get them in order. How would you proceed if people you want as mentors are in other companies? Obviously, you can join all of them as a colleague. I will try to reach out. So definitely I will just try to reach out to them and send them a cold email.
Or better, if you have somebody that has worked with them, or you can meet with them at the presentation, tell them about the things that they're doing, because most likely if you want them as mentor, you know a bit about their work, you know a bit about the statue. But one important key thing is, for somebody to mentor you, they'll be giving away time. The question is, how can you bring something of value to them? It may be the fact that they haven't mentored somebody and this is their chance of improving on the mentoring skill. It may be the fact that in the future, maybe you will collaborate. You never know. The tech scene is pretty small, but keep this in mind. You also have to start offering something. If they're pretty well known, a lot of people are trying to do the same ask. You have to figure out how you can stand out. So Cosmin, thank you for your question. I was not getting the questions everyone was sending, sadly. Hopefully you've got a lot of value out of it. I will also be publishing a Medium article after this with the learnings, and I'll try to also address some of the questions that I may not have time right now, and I think people will jump. I'll try to address them in that article. What do you think about skipping stages to get a fast promotion for take necessary time to gain the needed work experience? I'm not saying here skipping steps. So you can condense some of the steps. It's like you're taking 20 or 30 years of experience and trying to condense them in 10, or maybe you're taking 10 years of experience and trying to condense them in 2. You're going to get a discount, but it's still going to be painful. You have to be ready. I recall my past manager saying to me, look, it's going to be hard. You're going to complain. You have to really want this. And I said, yes, I'm in the journey. Feel free to throw at me anything that you have on your plate. I'll try to figure it out. I have to fix it. And there's a lot of hard work into it. So there's no skipping, sadly. It's not a fast way. It's just taking the amount of work, a lot of work, condensing it, going through a lot of things. For example, in the past 10 years, I've been very comfortable of being uncomfortable. And right now, being comfortable is uncomfortable because I haven't experienced that. Every year that I've passed through was different than the previous year, which was very interesting and a very, let's say, fast career acceleration. A staff data scientist, working as data engineer for 5 years. My education background is economics and statistics. My manager is going to promote to principal data scientist. I am worried about my next career plan after promotion. Well, you can also reinvent things, reinvent yourself a bit. It's a longer discussion right here. It's a discussion around what you like to do next. It's hard to talk about it because I don't know all the context is, but a bit of my experience was I really wanted to see how being an engineering director is. I wanted to see that early on, I can confess. I was curious to see if it was it for me. And I said at that point, hey, let me find out sooner. Because eventually, after 20 or 30 years, I may have been able to find out. But I wanted to find out sooner. Because at that point, even if it's something that, let's say, it's not fulfilling, but it is right now, but let's say it was not fulfilling, I still have time to reinvent myself and go to another field and discover and start again, maybe from the basics with that field if it's something that I want to do and is worth doing. And of course, you'll have some experience that you can take to the new field. You'll not be starting from scratch. You have the experience of working hard. You have the experience of consistency. You'll have the experience of how you're building trust. You have the experiences and all the soft skills that you've developed so far that will help you and give you a competitive advantage. You need the competence for a new field, but as I said, with AI, the competence threshold may become lower and lower. How to effectively build a brand for yourself? Depends where you want to build it. I'm happy to say that it depends how and where you want to build it. It could be building the brand for you internally in the company. It could be building a brand for you externally. And let's say I have no advice to give on how to build a brand externally because I haven't built it myself. So I'll be speaking, let's say, without doing something and not having competence in that. I will keep myself speaking about how to build a brand inside the company or the startup. I've personally built a brand of a person that does things. If I'm delivered a project or a task, I see it through. And that's a good branding to have. Yeah, especially in companies that are pretty, let's say, that recognizes performance and recognizes this kind of impact. So depends what you want to build, but anything that you want to do, you have to be consistent about it. Most likely you want to be somebody that's trustworthy. Start doing what I just said. Say what you do it, and show that you've done it. How to connect effectively with senior leadership. This is the key here. You have to speak their language. What I've seen a lot happening is people going to senior leadership, going to their one-on-one sessions, and just complaining. And of course, you have to be empathic on the other side. And I'm not saying there's no reason to complain or to speak about the negative things that are happening and things around this, but imagine you're on the other side. A lot of people are doing this. How can you stand out? Do exactly this. Go to senior leadership and say, what are the issues that you're seeing in the business happening? What's the future? And you can also get good ideas or good projects that you want to do is, how can I help deliver faster on that thing? How can I push that? And then after you're doing and working on specifics, maybe you get a direction, you can follow up and say, I've did it. And that's how you also build trust with senior leadership. And you'll stand out. Most likely you'll stand out. What does making the pie bigger mean? It means creating new projects, new opportunities. Maybe all of the opportunities or the cool opportunities that are out there are already being handled. But there are also new opportunities that you can create. And I think that's pretty important, because at that point, the people that are fighting for the original opportunities will not also chase the opportunity that you created, because it's your idea, your creation. Most likely it doesn't have full, let's say, corporate support, and it's going to sound risky. But your opportunity, if it goes your way, try to choose one work that can land you on a fast career acceleration path. And most likely, if it's a crazy opportunity, you'll have to get buy-in from leadership, and that's how you'll connect with senior leadership. You'll be seen as pitching ideas, trying to do creative ways, even if, let's say, the first idea maybe not that may not get a vote. Continue to do these kind of things, and then meet with leadership and ask more about their ideas or the things that they see that can be improved. And yeah, it's not easy. It's something hard. How do you identify and discriminate about good and bad opportunities? What are the factors that you value the most? I think this is also pretty tied to where are you from a life points journey at. If you can take more or less risks, what are the things? How do you measure success? Could be a career advancement, could be making more money. There's various opportunities. The way I advised of thinking about opportunities is, if you have a limited, let's say, risk, a limited downside that's manageable. For example, you're taking a pay cut. Do you actually need the extra money right now? Maybe the answer is no. If you actually need it, then there's another discussion. But if you don't need it, okay. But the question is then, what's the upside? If the upside is you're taking a 20% cut right now, during 2 or 3 years that you're joining a startup, in those 2-3 years, you're learning a lot of new things. So if the startup fails and you'll have to find a new job, the experience that you got in those 2-3 years would have been maybe 10, 15 in corporate world. At that point, even the downside is a good offering, because at that point you can go and find let's say, better career with another corporation or even with your original corporation. But if the upside is in the meantime, in the process, you also make millions of dollars, that's not a bad opportunity. Again, things vary. I just stumble on, let's say, the monetary aspects of it. But again, success is tied with multiple things. It could be earning more, it could be getting prestige. We're all different. So success means different things for every one of us. And I think I've took all your questions. But again, feel free to connect. I'll be sharing my screen one more. Feel free to connect on LinkedIn. If you have additional questions, ping me there. I'll be happy to respond. Thank you for joining this session and have a great, wonderful day. Bye, everyone.